Pixar has a total of 28 feature films, and its latest one, Inside Out 2, has now become the highest among all of them. So let's check out the box office collection of all the Pixar animated movies from 1995 to 2024. Pixar made its debut with Toy Story in 1995, and people loved and praised this movie so much that it grossed over $394 million at the worldwide box office. Pixar released its second feature film after a 3 years gap with A Bug's Life, which received positive reviews for its animation, story, and humor, and it grossed over $363 million worldwide on a budget of $45 million. The next year, in 1999, they released the sequel to the Toy Story, which became even more successful, grossing over $511 million at the worldwide box office on a budget of $90 million. And by this time, Pixar movies' budget increased as it became a greater studio, and in 2001, they released Monster, Inc. with a budget of $115 million, and it grossed over $580 million worldwide. At this point, Pixar was at its peak because they were releasing back-to-back cinematic masterpieces. And after 2 years in 2003, they released Finding Nemo, another absolute masterpiece from Pixar, which grossed over $940 million at the worldwide box office, and it's still the sixth highest grossing Pixar movie of all time. And in 2004, Pixar released The Incredibles, a superhero animated movie that also became successful that grossed over $631 million worldwide. And again, after 2 years gap, in 2006, which is my birth year, they released Cars in a budget of $120 million, and it grossed over $462 million, which is successful but less than previous Pixar movies. And in 2007, Pixar released one of the greatest animated movies of all time, Ratatouille, which was praised by many peoples, and it grossed over $623 million worldwide. In 2008, Pixar released Wall-E, a visually stunning animated movie and a love story between two robots. It's also one of my most favorite Pixar movies, and it grossed over $532 million worldwide. By now, Pixar had become a bigger studio, releasing animated movies every year. In 2009, they released Up, another masterpiece that grabbed the audience's attention and grossed over $735 million worldwide. In 2010, Pixar released another sequel to Toy Story after 11 years, and people loved it so much that it became the first Pixar movie to reach $1 billion mark and became the highest grossing film of that year. And it's fascinating that Pixar came up with great sequels, unlike other franchises that made a good first part and then sequels just for money. In 2011, Pixar released sequel to the Cars, which grossed over $560 million. In 2012, Pixar released Brave, a fantasy-adventure animated movie, and it also became successful, which grossed over $540 million worldwide. In 2013, Pixar released prequel to the 2001 Monster, Inc. that explores the backstory of Mike and Sully during their college years and how they became friends and scarers. And it became the huge success at the box office, grossed over $743 million at the worldwide box office. And after a year gap, in 2015, Pixar for the first time released 2 movies in a year. In June, they released Inside Out that cost over $858 million at the box office. And in November, Pixar released The Good Dinosaur. The film generally gets positive reviews from critics for its animation and themes, though its storytelling was not considered to be up to Pixar's standards. And it became Pixar's first box office failure, grossing $332 million on a $200 million budget and losing the studio an estimated $85 million. And in 2016, they released a sequel to the 2003 Finding Nemo, and fans loved this movie so much that it grossed over $1 billion at the box office, becoming the second Pixar movie to reach the $1 billion mark after Toy Story 3. In June 2017, Pixar released another sequel, Cars 3. It received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed $383 million worldwide against its $175 million budget, becoming the lowest-grossing film of the franchise, but still a box office success. And in November 2017, Pixar released Coco. one of my most favorite animated movie from Pixar. It grossed over $814 million worldwide at the box office. And in 2018, they released a sequel to The Incredibles, and it grossed over $1.2 billion at the box office and became the highest-grossing Pixar movie of all time. In 2019, Pixar released another sequel to the Toy Story franchise after 9 years, and it grossed over $1.07 billion worldwide. In 2020, Pixar released Onward theatrically on March 6th, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, its theatrical run was cut short. Most theaters closed around mid-March 2020. Therefore, Onward played in theaters for approximately 10 to 14 days before cinemas started closing down, and it grossed $142 million worldwide. And in December 2020, Pixar's Soul was directly released on a streaming service because it was initially scheduled for a theatrical release on June 19, 2020. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, its release was postponed to December, when it was ultimately released on Disney Plus with a limited theatrical run. It grossed $122 million, but Soul was a major hit on streaming, ending up #1 on the Nielsen charts with nearly 1.7 billion total minutes of streaming in just its first week alone. In 2021, Pixar released Luca, another of my favorite Pixar movies. Due to pandemic, it was also directly released on streaming service and was the most viewed streaming film of 2021 with over 10.6 billion minutes watched. In March 2022, they released Turning Red, which also flopped due to the pandemic and was directly released to a streaming service. And in June 2022, 4 years after Incredibles 2, they released Lightyear in the theaters, and it grossed $226 million worldwide on a budget of $200 million. In 2023, they released Elemntal, which I really liked. Although this movie had the lowest opening for a Pixar movie ever, it gradually increased its box office earnings and grossed $496 million on a budget of $200 million. And in 2024, Pixar had planned for 2 movies, Elio and Inside Out 2. But due to the SAG-AFTRA strikes, Elio was delayed, and Pixar only released Inside Out 2, which broke many box office records. It grossed over $1.6 billion worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing Pixar movie ever. And it is now just $40 million away from surpassing The Lion King to become the highest-grossing animated film of all time. So, these are the box office collection of all Pixar movies. What's your most favorite Pixar movie? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button. See you soon in the next video. Till then, take care.